What's going on, guys? It's Christian Miller here with the Miller's Edge, and we've got the Rose Bowl coming up. Number 4, Alabama taking on number 1, Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I'm going to give you my 3 reasons why Alabama will defeat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Let's talk about it. Number 1 is physicality. Everybody's talking about Michigan and their physicality, and that's great. However, when I think of physicality, I think of Alabama, the program that prides themselves on physicality and playing a dominant brand of football. A team that has shown that through the course of this season. Let's start with the offensive line. This group averages about 350 plus pounds. Coming into the season, they struggled a bit, specifically in pass pro, but they also didn't get the movement that we necessarily expected to see going into the season. However, if you watch them in the second half of the season, this is one of the most physical groups in the country. Just go back and watch the SEC championship game against the Georgia Bulldogs, who was the number 1 team in the country, was also known as a physical football team, and go watch the tape. This offensive line was getting movement. They were driving Georgia defenders 10 yards downfield. The double teams were opening up running lanes. I mean, it was as physical as it gets. It's led by a group of guys like Tyler Booker, J.C. Latham, even the young left tackle Caden Proctor. These are physical maulers on the offensive line. So when you talk about physicality, this is what Alabama matches up with best. Looking at the defensive side of the football, SEC Player of the Year on the defensive side, Dallas Turner, setting the tone, setting a physical edge. The interior guys, Tim Smith, Tim Keenan, Justin Eboigbe, you got Chris Braswell on the other side. These guys like to play a physical brand of football. That front seven, when you throw in Deontay Lawson, Jahad Campbell, right? All these guys collectively, they play physical, they play fast. Even on the back end, Caleb Downs, the true freshman, this guy flies down and runs support, not afraid to put his hat on a hat. I mean, this is a physical bunch. So when you talk about a physical matchup, Alabama is never shying away from that. That's what they love. They match up best with it. So when you talk about physicality, you got to give the edge to Alabama, the team that's been doing that for the past decade plus, right? So I love this matchup in terms of physicality and that favoring the tie. Yes, Michigan does a nice job of playing a physical brand of football. They like to run the football effectively. They go into those pro formations, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, heavy groupings, right? They use the H-back. They're going to run power. They're going to run counter. They're going to try to run the ball down your throat. But guess what? No other team in the country matches up with that brand of football than Alabama. Number 2, Jalen Milroe, who in my opinion is going to be the X factor in this game. You're talking about a quarterback that's arguably the most dynamic athlete, not just quarterback, athlete in the country. The guy's built like a linebacker, runs like a 4.4. He is a freak athlete. Michigan's defense has not seen an athlete or a quarterback like Jalen Milroe. I think that's going to cause issues for this Michigan defense, who is very talented. Let's not take that away from them, right? They're top 3 in almost every statistic in the country. They're top 2 in total defense. They're coming in at number 1 in points per game allowed. They're a very talented bunch. They've got a very solid front. They've got some really good players in the back end. But in my opinion, they have not played an offense as explosive or a quarterback with the athletic ability as Jalen Milroe. I think his skill set and the perimeter guys with their athleticism, I think it can cause issues for this Michigan defense, who, again, I just complimented them on all those statistics. However, you have to take into consideration the offenses that they've played in the Big Ten haven't necessarily been the most explosive offense compared to Alabama. When they're playing these offenses, they're top 30 in the country on average. So not taking anything away from Michigan, I just, in my opinion, don't think that they've seen a quarterback with the athletic ability of Jalen Milroe, with the deep shot ability of Jalen Milroe in this offense. When you pair him with Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton, I just think that's going to cause some issues for Michigan's defense. I do think they're going to play us well. They're going to give us some challenges. I don't expect anything less from the quote unquote number 1 team. However, I think that Jalen Milroe can be an X factor in this game with his explosive playmaking ability. When he can escape the pocket, use his legs to pick up first downs, find guys with the scrambling ability, throwing it downfield. I think that can really be critical in this matchup. And number 3 is being on the big stage under the bright lights. Alabama performs their best in these moments. They're used to it, right? It's familiar to them. When you look at Michigan, they don't perform the best in the postseason. Not saying that their past will necessarily have any effect in this game, However, when it comes to coaches and having their teams ready to play in these big games, no one does it better than Nick Saban in Alabama. You look at Jim Harbaugh, he's 1-6 in these bowl games. They tend to struggle in these matchups. We've seen how they match up against a team like Georgia in the postseason. It doesn't necessarily bode well for them. So I like Alabama when it comes to their performance in the postseason and being prepared to play at a high level in these types of matchups when all the lights are shining on them. So those are my 3 reasons why I believe Alabama will ultimately defeat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Let me know your thoughts below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. But make sure you drop a like for this video. If you like the content, subscribe, and make sure you keep following us on all social media platforms to stay up to date with the most recent content. Again, I'm Christian Miller with the Miller's Edge. We'll see you guys next time.